Life in Turkey, the most difficult country and people to understand. Turkey is a country that defies definition. Geographically divided between two continents, historically rooted in empires, and socially split between secularism and religion, Turkey is a nation of paradoxes. It is warm and cold, modern and ancient, liberal and conservative, all at once. In this video, we explore why life in Turkey, and understanding Turkish people, is one of the most complex, beautiful, and difficult experiences in the world. From identity crises to unspoken social rules, here's why Turkey is unlike any place you've ever known. 1. A country torn between two continents. Turkey's most striking contradiction lies in its geography. Uniquely positioned at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, it's a nation both Eastern and Western, yet never fully either. This physical divide isn't just a line on a map, it's deeply reflected in Turkish society. Istanbul, the only major city in the world that straddles two continents, symbolizes this split perfectly. On one side, you'll find cosmopolitan streets with Western-style cafes and liberal attitudes, while just across the Bosphorus, traditions rooted in centuries-old customs still flourish. Cities like Ankara and Izmir embrace secularism and modernity, whereas rural villages remain deeply conservative, shaped by religion and age-old values. This East-West tension isn't just cultural. It affects everything from fashion and language to gender roles and educational norms. As a result, Turkey constantly grapples with its identity, creating a country that is both beautifully diverse and perpetually conflicted in its sense of self. 2. Historical layers: empire, republic, modern chaos. Turkey is a nation built upon the ruins and glories of powerful empires, most notably the Byzantine and Ottoman. These layers of history aren't just buried beneath ancient architecture, they live on in the national psyche. After the fall of the Ottoman Empire in the early 20th century, Mustafa Kemal Ataturk spearheaded a radical transformation, replacing monarchy with a secular republic and aiming to modernize Turkey along Western lines. However, the Ottoman legacy never truly faded. Today, a deep nostalgia for the Ottoman era persists among many Turks, especially in conservative circles, who view it as a time of cultural pride and Islamic strength. At the same time, Turkey continues to champion Ataturk's vision of progress and secularism. This creates a daily tension, an internal tug-of-war between reverence for tradition and the drive for modernization. As a result, Turkey exists in a constant state of negotiation with its past, seeking identity in its dual inheritance. 3. The Turkish people: emotional, mysterious, loyal. Turkish people are often described as warm, generous, and incredibly hospitable, but to outsiders, they can also be surprisingly hard to read. Hospitality in Turkey is almost sacred. Guests are welcomed with open arms, offered endless tea, and treated with genuine care, often regardless of how well they are known. Generosity is second nature, whether it's sharing a meal, offering directions, or helping a stranger in need. Yet, despite these warm gestures, initial interactions can feel distant, formal, or even slightly cold. Facial expressions may be stoic, and body language reserved, especially with strangers. This creates a sharp contrast between the open, emotional relationships Turks have with close family and friends, and the guarded way they approach unfamiliar people. Once trust is earned, however, that outer shell breaks and you'll find deep loyalty and affection. For those unfamiliar with this emotional duality, it can be confusing, even misleading, but it's part of Turkey's unique social rhythm. 4. Religion versus secularism: an ongoing battle. Turkey is officially a secular republic, but Islam remains deeply woven into the fabric of everyday life. The melodic call to prayer echoes across cities and towns 5 times a day, marking the rhythm of public life. Religious holidays like Ramadan, locally known as Ramazan, are widely celebrated, often bringing communities together in a spirit of reflection and charity. Many Turks openly practice Islam, yet the country is also home to a significant secular, atheist, and agnostic population, especially in urban centers. This coexistence often leads to friction. The divide between religious and secular worldviews shapes everything from school curricula and political policies to dress codes and gender expectations. The result is a complex society full of contradictions, where someone might enjoy a beer yet fast during Ramadan, or wear a hijab while actively advocating for women's rights. These opposing values coexist uneasily, making Turkey a place of constant cultural negotiation and identity tension. 5. The language barrier and communication style. Turkish is a rich, expressive language. but for outsiders, it can be a linguistic labyrinth. Its structure is agglutinative, meaning suffixes pile onto root words to form long, intricate expressions. For example, Evlerinizden misiniz translates to, apparently you were from your houses, a single word that packs in layers of meaning. This grammatical system is vastly different from English or any Romance language, making Turkish a serious challenge for new learners. But the complexity doesn't end with grammar. Turkish communication is deeply emotional and heavily relies on non-verbal cues. Conversations are often animated, with expressive hand gestures and intense facial expressions. What might sound like a heated argument could actually be a passionate, friendly chat. And Turks tend to avoid direct refusals. Phrases like, maybe later, or we'll see, are soft rejections, not actual possibilities. Decoding what is meant versus what is said requires cultural fluency, not just vocabulary, making communication as layered as the language itself. 6. The national identity crisis. Modern Turkey exists in a state of identity flux, torn between the ideals of progress and the pull of tradition. On one hand, there's a deep-rooted admiration for Ataturk's secular, Western-oriented reforms that laid the foundation for the modern republic. On the other, there's a rising wave of Islamic conservatism that echoes the glory and values of the Ottoman Empire. This clash is reflected in every layer of Turkish society. In cities, you'll find youth embracing global trends, speaking fluent English, and dreaming of studying abroad. But in many homes, especially in rural or conservative regions, traditional gender roles, religious practices, and cultural customs still dominate daily life. 7. Politics. Complex, passionate, and volatile. Understanding Turkish politics is like stepping into a labyrinth, complex, emotional, and seemingly without a clear exit. While Turkey is technically a democracy, its political history is marred by military coups, abrupt power shifts, and a steady drift toward authoritarianism in recent years. Political polarization runs deep, and opinions often sit on opposite extremes with little middle ground. There's no such thing as a neutral stance in Turkish politics. Everyone has an opinion, and it's usually delivered with fiery conviction. Sensitive topics like Kurdish identity, women's rights, LGBTQ+ issues, and freedom of speech ignite fierce debate and are often shaped by media bias, censorship, or historical trauma. Political discussions aren't confined to parliament. They spill into everyday life. Whether you're in a cafe, a taxi, or a family dinner, you'll likely overhear or even be invited into a heated exchange. These conversations can feel deeply personal, as political loyalty often becomes a core part of identity. 8. Cultural etiquette, unspoken rules. Turkish society operates on a complex web of unspoken rules, social expectations that aren't spelled out, but are deeply felt. For locals, these customs are second nature. For outsiders, they can be confusing and sometimes even jarring. One of the most sacred values is hospitality. Offering tea, snacks, or even a full meal is not just kindness, it's a cultural obligation. Declining too many times, that can come off as disrespectful or cold. Similarly, respect for elders is non-negotiable. In any gathering, greetings begin with the eldest, and their words carry an unspoken authority that younger people are expected to honor. Public behavior also varies dramatically depending on location. In rural towns, displays of affection are often frowned upon, while in urban hubs like Istanbul, a more liberal atmosphere allows for hand-holding or even a quick kiss. Directness is another cultural landmine. Many Turks prefer soft, roundabout ways of expressing disagreement. What might seem honest in Western cultures could be seen as rude or confrontational here. For newcomers, adapting to these subtle norms takes time, patience, and careful observation. 9. Food and meal culture, a language of its own. In Turkey, food is never just about sustenance. It's a rich symbol of love, heritage, and social connection. Breakfast, for example, isn't a quick meal to start the day. It's an event. Families and friends gather around tables piled with cheeses, olives, fresh bread, tomatoes, cucumbers, honey, and eggs, savoring both the food and the company. Tea, or kay, is the lifeblood of Turkish hospitality, offered everywhere from homes to shops, and even banks. It's more than a drink, it's a ritual of connection, a way to slow down and engage with others. Meals in Turkey tend to be long, unhurried affairs filled with lively conversation. Rushing through food is often seen as disrespectful to the host and the tradition itself. Some food customs might strike outsiders as unusual. For instance, bread is often used as a utensil, scooping up dips or soaking up sauces instead of relying on forks or spoons. Yogurt is a common accompaniment, served alongside meat dishes to balance flavors and textures, a combination that might seem strange at first. Perhaps most important to grasp is the emotional weight of food. Refusing an offered dish is often interpreted as rejecting the host's generosity and love, not just the meal itself. To truly understand Turkish people, appreciating the deep cultural significance of food is essential. 10. Living contradictions. The beauty of Turkey's cultural complexity. Turkey is far from a monolith. It's a vibrant mosaic of cultures, ethnicities, and traditions that vary wildly across regions. From the bustling, multicultural streets of Istanbul to the quiet, tradition-steeped villages of Anatolia, the country is a patchwork of identities. Ethnic groups such as Turks, Kurds, Arabs, Circassians, and Laz people all contribute their unique languages, customs, and cuisines to the national tapestry. Regional differences are profound. Cities like Antalya and Izmir tend to be more liberal and outward-looking, embracing secularism and modern lifestyles. Meanwhile, places like Konya and Sanliurfa hold tightly to conservative values and religious traditions. Dialects shift from region to region, and local customs often reflect centuries-old histories distinct from the national narrative. 11. Cat culture, a soft side of chaos. One of the most charming, yet perplexing aspects of Turkey is its obsession with cats. Stray cats are everywhere, in shops, mosques, restaurants. They are fed, cared for, and even medically treated by locals. Laws protect street animals, and harming them is socially unacceptable. For a country that struggles with many social issues, this affection for cats shows a soft, poetic side of the Turkish soul that's hard to explain, but impossible to ignore. 12. Why Turkey is still worth understanding. Yes, Turkey is difficult to understand. But that's part of its magic. It challenges your worldview. It teaches patience and observation. It surprises you daily, with contradictions, beauty, and depth. Turkey isn't a country you visit. It's a country you experience, and if you open your heart, it will stay with you long after you leave. It's not simple. It's not always comfortable. But it's real, heartbreakingly, beautifully real. If you've made it this far, you now understand why Turkey is one of the most complex and difficult countries and people to understand. But it's also one of the most rewarding. Have you been to Turkey? Planning to go? Share your thoughts or questions in the comments below. And hey, if you found this video interesting, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next cultural deep dive.